Singapore's Prime Minister Wong and new cabinet sworn in. US formally lifts sanctions on Syria. Good afternoon and Salam Malaysia Madani. You're watching World Today and my name is Daryl Baptist. Singapore Prime Minister Lawrence Wong led the swearing-in of the cabinet for the new term of government at the Istana on Friday, following the People's Action Party's or PAP's resounding victory on the 3rd of May general election. The ceremony, broadcast live on television and streamed on social media platforms, began at 8 p.m. with the national anthem Majulah Singapura, followed by a speech from President Tharman Shanmugaratnam. Wong, who also serves as Finance Minister, took and signed the Oath of Allegiance and the oath for the due execution of office before President Tharman Shanmugaratnam and Chief Justice Sundaresh Menon. The Prime Minister was then presented with the instrument of appointment by the President.
Of the Prime Minister.
Singaporeans have given me and my team a clear mandate. The PAP was returned to government with a strengthened majority of 65%. My team and I are humbled and honoured by the trust you have placed in us. This outcome reflects the collective desire of Singaporeans. In these uncertain times, you understood what was at stake, our vulnerability and our future.
Next to be sworn in were Senior Minister Lee Hsien Loong, Deputy Prime Minister and Minister for Trade and Industry Gan Kim Yong, and 3 coordinating ministers. Subsequently, 9 ministers, 12 senior ministers of state and 8 ministers of state were also sworn in. Wong announced his new cabinet lineup on Wednesday. The United States lifted comprehensive economic sanctions on Syria on Friday, marking a dramatic policy shift following the end of Bashar al-Assad's regime and opening the door for new investment in the war-torn country. The move formalized a decision announced by US President Donald Trump last week. During a Middle East tour, Trump unexpectedly announced that he was lifting brutal and crippling Assad-era sanctions on Syria in response to demands from Turkey and Saudi Arabia. U.S. Treasury Secretary Scott Bessent said the sanctions relief extends to Syria's new government with conditions that the country not provide safe haven for terrorist organizations and ensure security for religious and ethnic minorities. The U.S. State Department also simultaneously issued a waiver enabling foreign partners and allies to participate in Syria's reconstruction, giving companies the green light to do business in the country. Secretary of State Marco Rubio said the waiver would facilitate the provision of electricity, energy, water and sanitation and enable a more effective humanitarian response across Syria. The authorization also covers new investment in Syria, provision of financial services, and transactions involving Syrian petroleum products. US President Donald Trump threatened on Friday to ratchet up his trade war once again, pushing for a 50% tariff on European Union goods starting from the 1st of June and warning Apple he may slap a 25% levy on all iPhones bought by US consumers. Trump's broadside against the EU was prompted by the White House belief that negotiations with the bloc are not progressing fast enough. But his saber-rattling also marked a return to Washington's stop-and-start trade war that has shaken markets, businesses and consumers and raised fears of a global economic downturn.
The deal is at 50%, but again, there is no tariff if they build their plant here. Now, if somebody comes in and wants to build a plant here, I can talk to them about a little bit of a delay, but, while they're building their plant, which is something I think that would be appropriate, maybe we'll determine that.
Trump's attack on Apple, meanwhile, is his latest attempt to pressure a specific company to move production to the United States, following automakers, pharmaceutical companies, and chip makers. Trump told reporters inside the Oval Office that his proposed tariff on Apple would also apply to Samsung and anybody that makes that product, apparently referring to smartphones. The fifth round of negotiations between Iran and the United States concluded on Friday in Rome with limited but inconclusive progress, according to the Omani mediator facilitating the talks. The discussions held at the Omani embassy in Italy lasted over 3 hours and were led by Iranian Foreign Minister Abbas Araghchi and U.S. Special Envoy to the Middle East Steve Witkoff. Oman played the role of indirect mediator throughout the negotiations. Iranian Foreign Minister Syed Abbas Araghchi stated that the fifth round of Iran-US talks was the most professional round of negotiations to date. He said different ideas were discussed in the fifth round, and it was decided that the two sides further review the ideas and make the arrangements for the next round, which will hopefully enter details to some extent if both sides accept new solutions. Previously, Iran and the United States held 4 rounds of Oman-mediated indirect talks, starting from April on Tehran's nuclear program and the lifting of U.S. sanctions, 3 of which in Oman's Muscat and 1 in Rome. In recent days, U.S. officials have repeatedly demanded that Iran completely cease uranium enrichment, a request firmly rejected by Tehran. The United Nations, or UN, reported on Friday that at least 94% of hospitals in Gaza have been damaged or destroyed, with half no longer operational. Citing the World Health Organization, or WHO, UN spokesperson Farhan Haq said that the intensification of hostilities has brought Gaza's already weakened health system to a breaking point. Haq said 4 major hospitals, including Kamal Adwan Hospital, Indonesia Hospital, Hamad Hospital for Rehabilitation and Prosthetics, and European Gaza Hospital, suspended operations in the past week due to attacks or displacement orders. He added only 19 out of 36 hospitals remain operational. Of the 19 hospitals still functioning, 12 are providing a range of healthcare services, while the rest are only able to offer basic emergency care. WHO stated that 4% of nearly 700 attacks on healthcare in Gaza since October 2023 were recorded over the past week alone. Continued hostilities and military presence inhibit patients from accessing care, obstruct staff from providing care, and prevent WHO and partners from resupplying hospitals. Over in Eastern Europe, Russia and Ukraine each released 390 prisoners on Friday and said they would free more in the coming days in what is expected to be the biggest prisoner swap of the war so far. The agreement to exchange 1,000 prisoners each was the only concrete step towards peace to emerge last week from the first direct talks between the warring sides in more than 3 years when they failed to agree a ceasefire. Both sides said they had each released 270 soldiers and 120 civilians so far, with more due to be released on Saturday and Sunday. The released Ukrainians arrived at a hospital in the northern Chernihiv region in buses and filed out, pale, most of them with shaven heads and wrapped in Ukrainian flags. Meanwhile, the Russian Defense Ministry said the freed Russians are currently in Belarus, which neighbors Ukraine, receiving psychological and medical assistance before being moved to Russia for further care. They include civilians captured inside Russia's Kursk region during a Ukrainian incursion. Hundreds of thousands of soldiers on both sides are believed to have been wounded or killed in Europe's deadliest war since World War II, although neither side publishes accurate casualty figures. Coming up, 6 people in San Diego plane crash confirmed dead. But before that story, more tragedy. Germany police on Friday revealed they have arrested a woman after at least 12 people were injured in a knife attack at the main station in the northern city of Hamburg. Some of the injured sustained life-threatening injuries in the stabbing, emergency services said, although the exact number remained unclear. The suspect, police subsequently said, was a 39-year-old woman who was thought to have acted alone. Investigations into the incident were running at full speed, police said, without giving an indication of a possible motive. The attack took place around 6 p.m. local time in the middle of rush hour at the end of the working week. German rail operator Deutsche Bahn said on X that 4 platforms at the station had been closed, and it added that the incident would also lead to delays and diversions in long-distance services. Germany has been rocked in recent months by a series of violent attacks with often far-right extremist motivations that have put security at the top of the agenda. The most recent on Sunday saw 4 people were injured in a stabbing at a bar in the city of Bielefeld. All 6 people aboard a private jet that crashed in San Diego neighborhood were killed, but nobody on the ground was seriously injured. An official for the National Transportation Safety Board said on Friday, a day after the fiery incident. According to NTSB investigator Dan Baker, the twin-engine Cessna Citation on approach for landing early on Thursday at Montgomery Gibbs Executive Airport clipped some power lines and crashed into a military housing community known as Murphy Canyon, just west of a golf course.
Pilot and passengers were fatally injured. There were no ground fatalities or serious injuries. Our mission here is to gather the facts and evidence associated with this accident to determine a probable cause and make any necessary recommendations to improve aviation safety.
He explained that the aircraft slammed into a street and immediately burst into flames that destroyed the plane and damaged nearby homes and vehicles. Baker added the airport weather system was also inoperative due to an unrelated power surge, and the runway light system was out of service at the time. Thousands of striking teachers from the National Coordinator of Educational Workers, or CNTE, strangled traffic and blocked access to Mexico City's international airport on Friday, flexing their muscles in a bid to block educational reforms intended to introduce teacher evaluations and reduce union power over hiring decisions. Several thousand teachers blocked the main expressway leading to the airport. They had vowed to seize the terminal, but police and soldiers were called in to block the march. Travelers were forced to walk part of the way to the airport to catch their flights. Dozens of preventive and traffic police officers were stationed at the airport terminals in anticipation of potential unrest caused by the demonstrators. According to resolutions made in union assemblies held last night, teachers plan to block access to Terminals 1 and 2 of the airport complex. The CNTE strike is now in its 9th consecutive day. Airport users and staff are seen walking from the closed metro stations to reach their workplaces or to catch their scheduled flights. Federal immigration officials arrested dozens of immigrants following their immigration court hearings in multiple U.S. cities this week, in operations that advocates said appeared to target people who had been in the country for less than 2 years. U.S. Immigration and Customs Enforcement officers detained migrants at courthouses in New York City, Phoenix, Los Angeles, and Seattle, according to family members, attorneys, and news reports. In at least some of the arrests, immigration judges had just dropped active cases against the migrants. The move could potentially allow U.S. authorities to put them in a fast-track deportation process known as expedited removal. U.S. President Donald Trump, a Republican, aims to deport record numbers of immigrants in the U.S. illegally, but has complained that U.S. courts and existing laws have slowed the effort. ICE guidance issued earlier this year directed officers to consider all immigrants previously released for expedited removal if they had not affirmatively applied for asylum. The operation showcases a new strategy to speed up deportations and bypass lengthier immigration processes. According to the Pakistani Meteorological Office, residents of Pakistan's southern Sindh province sweltered on Friday with temperatures soaring up to 50 degrees Celsius in some areas. A heatwave alert has been issued, with the Met Office saying daytime temperatures were likely to remain 4 to 6 degrees Celsius above normal in Sindh as well as Punjab and Balochistan provinces until Saturday. The Met Office also advised people to avoid prolonged exposure to direct sunlight and stay hydrated. The residents of Hyderabad, Sindh's second biggest city after Karachi, said the heat coupled with frequent power cuts made their lives miserable.
डेली तकरीबन हमारे पास 80 से 90 पेशेंट्स आते हैं जिसके अंदर 30 से 40 पेशेंट हीट स्ट्रोक के हैं इस वक्त उन सबको जो है सख्त गर्मी के अंदर फैसिलिटेट किया जाता है इस अस्पताल के अंदर सारी दवाएं अवेलेबल हैं.
Millions of Pakistanis suffer partial blackouts almost daily, including scheduled load-shedding power cuts aimed at conserving electricity. A 5.7 magnitude earthquake hit near the Indonesian island of Sumatra on Friday. The United States Geological Survey, or USGS, said damaging more than 100 houses with no reports of casualties. According to the USGS, the tremor hit at 2:52 a.m. local time at a depth of 68 kilometers, with the epicenter offshore near Bengkulu province. The country's meteorological agency gave a higher magnitude of 6.0, with the epicenter at a depth of 84 kilometers, adding that there was no potential for a tsunami. Some locals in Bengkulu were woken up by the jolt and immediately rushed outside. A spokesman for the National Disaster Mitigation Agency stated the tremor damaged more than 100 houses and at least 6 public facilities in the provincial capital of Bengkulu city. Indonesia experiences frequent earthquakes due to its position on the Pacific Ring of Fire, an arc of intense seismic activity where tectonic plates collide that stretches from Japan through Southeast Asia and across the Pacific Basin. Coming up in sports, national doubles shuttlers advance into Malaysia Masters semi-finals. It's a case of third time's the charm for national men's doubles pair, Man Wei Chong and T Kai Woon, as they pulled off a sensational win over compatriots and world number 2, Goh Zifei and Nur Izzuddin Ramsani, to check into the semi-finals of the Malaysia Masters 2025 yesterday. Coming into the clash with a 0-2 head-to-head record, the 2023 edition runners-up flipped the script in front of a home crowd, delivering a sublime performance in the last 8 to dispatch their more seasoned opponents 19-21, 21-7, 21-16 at the Axiata Arena in Bukit Jalil. The 5th-seeded Wei Chong and Kai Wun, who lost the opening game, deserve praise for not capitulating but fighting back to outplay the 2nd-seeded Zifei and Nur Izzuddin 21-7 to force the decider. Buoyed by their 2nd game fight-back win, the world number 8 Wei Chong and Kai Wun displayed nerves of steel to clinch victory in 44 minutes. Today will be their first semi-final appearance after 4 tournaments since winning the Indonesia Masters 2025 in January. Looking ahead to the semi-finals, Wei Chong said the victory has boosted their confidence as they eye a first win over Takuro Hoki and Yugo Kobayashi after 2 previous defeats to the Japanese pair. Meanwhile, Aaron Chia and So Woo Yik are set to relive their Paris 2024 bronze medal match drama as they face top seeds Kim Astrup and Anders Skarup Rasmussen from Denmark in a mouth-watering Malaysia Masters semi-finals showdown later today. In the last 8 tie, the 5th-seeded Aaron and Woo Yik overcame a nervy start, trailing 0-2 early before shifting into top gear to blast past Denmark's 7th-seeded pair, Rasmus Kjær and Fredrik Søgaard, with a commanding 21-10 win in the opening set. Down 15-18 in the 2nd game, the 2022 world champions once again showed great resilience as they roared back by picking up 3 straight points to tie the score 18-18 and slam the door shut for the Danes with a 21-19 win to book a place in the semis, much to the delight of the home crowd. Last August, Aaron and Woo Yik defended their Olympic Games bronze medal for a 2nd time in a row when they came from behind to beat Astrup and Rasmussen 16-21, 22-20, 21-19. In the women's doubles, Pearly Tan and M. Tina displayed a power game to defeat Indonesian pair Febriana Dwi Puji Kusuma and Amalia Cahaya Pratiwi in straight sets 21-14, 21-14 in 34 minutes in the quarterfinals yesterday. Even though they were initially rattled by their opponents, who are ranked 9th in the world, Pearly and Tina quickly changed their strategy with a more aggressive game to secure a ticket to the semi-finals. Next, a more arduous challenge awaits Pearly and Tina when they face 7th seeds Jia Yifan and Zhang Shuxian of China, who beat Leni Tria Mayasari and Siti Fadia Silva Ramadanti from Indonesia 21-15, 15-21, 21-14. The record between the 2 pairs is now level at 1-1, with Pearly and Tina once beating them at the 2025 Indian Open when the Chinese pair pulled out while leading 14-4. If they successfully advance to the final stage, Pearly and Tina have the opportunity to add to their collection a 2nd title this season, just 6 days after winning the championship at the 2025 Thailand Open on the 18th of May. For the record, they advanced to the final of the 2023 edition of the Malaysian Masters, but were blocked by the South Korean pair Baek Hana and Lee So-hee 20-22, 21-8 and 17-21. Over in the world of football, Tottenham Hotspur celebrated their Europa League title on Friday with an open-top bus parade through North London. Tens of thousands of fans gathered in the streets surrounding Tottenham Hotspur Stadium to cheer on their team, who put an end to the Lily Whites' 17-year trophy drought. Brennan Johnson's goal was enough to earn Ange Postecoglou's side a 1-0 win against Manchester United in the final in Bilbao on Wednesday, securing Spurs their first piece of silverware on the European stage since 1984. Despite enduring a difficult domestic season, which has seen Spurs slump to 17th position in the league table with 21 defeats, their worst in the Premier League era, Johnson's goal will also see Tottenham play Champions League football next season. Up next, Epic Universe featuring a new wizarding world of Harry Potter opens to public. Universal has added to its Harry Potter offerings with a third wizarding world at its new theme park, Epic Universe. The Ministry of Magic recreates 1920s Paris, as seen in the Warner Brothers Fantastic Beasts series, as the British Ministry of Magic set in 1990s London. The main attraction, Harry Potter and the Battle of the Ministry, takes riders to the trial of Witch Dolores Umbridge and culminates in a battle against the spectral Death Eaters. The opening of the wizarding world of Harry Potter marked a watershed moment for Universal's Orlando Resort, helping to fuel attendance with an experience that faithfully recreated the Warner Brothers movies. An estimated $7 billion investment has doubled the resort's size, adding 750 acres and populating it with familiar movie and game characters which it owns or licenses. It also features 4 other themed worlds: Super Nintendo World, How to Train Your Dragon, Isle of Berk, Celestial Park, and Dark Universe. In 1994, Cuban artist Jose Fuster started plastering his home with colorful mosaic palms, animals, and Picasso-esque figures, an oddity that became a trend. Today, the entire town of Jaimanitas is a celebration of his ceramic art. 1,000 tourists a week from as far afield as Europe, Russia, and Mexico visit the sleepy fishing spot transformed by Fuster into a theme park town with a fairy tale castle vibe, jokingly called Fusterlandia, in a nod to its most famous resident. West of the capital Havana, Jaimanitas buildings, homes, walls, and bus stops become displays for the 79-year-old's artistic vision. Fuster said he pays for the mosaic materials from sales of his art, some of which he exhibits at his famous former house, now a gallery for his paintings, sculptures, and ceramics. He uses palm trees, roosters, and rural people as prototypes for his artwork, interspersed with popular sayings and excerpts of poetry. That concludes today's edition of World Today. In our top story, Singapore PM Wong leads swearing in of new cabinet. Tune in to Malaysia Tonight coming up at 8:30 p.m. on TV1 and Saluran Berita RTM. Alternatively, you can stream us live on RTM Click's website and mobile application. We close our bulletin with the visual of the 15th Annual Festival of Lights in Sydney, Australia. Till then, I'm Darryl Baptist. From the river to the sea, Palestine will be free. Thank you for watching and have a memorable weekend ahead. Goodbye.